Welcome back. So now we're going to be going into how to turn those kind of 2D sketches that you learned how to do previously, turn those into 3D objects. Again, all of these videos, they're available on our website, so please feel free to check them out. And without further ado, here is Autodesk Fusion Push-Pull. Welcome back to Built by Design. Today we're going to be covering how to turn 2D sketches into 3D objects. So we're actually going to go over here, create a new document, and sketch from that. So once you have the sketch how you want it, and this is exactly how you want to turn things into 3D, you can go over here and click Stop Sketch. This is going to take you into the 3D kind of modeling environment. So what I like to do first, go over here, click the top corner of that cube. It's going to rotate me to a kind of a skewed view. And then what you can do is you can click Press Pull. So this is how you turn 2D sketches into 3D object. You just click on the plane that you want to turn into 3D, and then you drag the arrow out. So let's say I want to make this 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches. There you go, click enter, okay, and I have that. So there we go. But I want to go back and I actually want to, I'm gonna go backwards and turn that, I want to turn the circle as well out at the same distance as this little box thing. So going to select the circle as well. Hold shift when you do that. You can select, hold shift, you can select multiple objects and multiple surfaces before you and then they will both create or extrude, as I call it, at the same time. So you also can notice here that I didn't select this corner up here. So you can select both corners, or you can select just whatever you want. So you're not limited to the initial rectangle that I may have made it, the outside profile. You can do inside profiles as well. So that's good. I like that distance. So also another thing to show, even though I made these initially and extruded them the same, I can go and click press pull again, and I can make that longer. And they're not going to adjust the other two. They're completely independent of one another and not linked. So there's another way of creating 3D objects, and that's with extrude. So if I click extrude, just like the other one, it's going to make the face and it's going to extend that and make it longer. But there is some differences between press pull here and extrude here, and let me show you that. So if I'm using press pull, it's actually going to be kind of geometry aware, and it's going to move that plane all the way across and keep that the same if I do it like that. I'm going to click cancel actually. But on the other hand, with extrude, it's going to take this plane and move it only forwards and only backwards. So it will cut backwards going into the object, or if you move forwards, it'll go directly extend forwards. So this is important to understand kind of the differences between them, because they are very useful both in their own right and for different uses. So that's the basics of understanding 3D and how to turn 2D sketches into 3D geometry. If you watch the next section, we're going to be showing you a bunch of shortcuts to be able to do this sketching to 3D workflow a lot faster, as well as then some shortcuts within the program. Thanks for watching Built by Design. Now that you've seen kind of how to turn those 2D sketches inside of Fusion into 3D, we're going to skip ahead a little bit into Inventor. Inventor is the more intensive 3D process. This is something where not everyone on your team really needs to be engaged in this process, but it's something that is really powerful and really, really cool to be able to use and really analyze and see problems before you're ever going to get to them. So this next video, we're going to show us kind of how the differences between Inventor and Fusion and what that means. And so without further ado, this is Autodesk Inventor Sketching Basics. Welcome back to Build by Design. Today we're going to be learning about sketching using Inventor. So first off, we're going to start by creating a new file, and then double clicking on standard.ipt. And now we're in the part environment. For the first thing we're going to want to do is right click and create a new sketch. This is very similar to Fusion. Now we're going to go ahead and select the plane that we do want to sketch off of. And now this is the sketch environment. So once again, this is very similar to that of Fusion in purpose, but is going to look a little bit different. So now you should be fairly familiar with creating sketch geometry from your practice with Fusion. So I'm not going to get into too much detail into that. It's really very similar process using Inventor as compared to Fusion. So I'm just going to start creating the outline of the part that I want to create with lines. And then I'm going to go over to arc and then put some arcs in between these lines to create a complete profile. So now as you notice how everything is currently green. This means that it is not fully constrained, or that if I wanted to move things around, I could move them around and change the dimensions freely. Now since Inventor is a parametric modeler, as to in Fusion's non-parametric modeler, we don't want this to be the case because we're looking for a very precise and consistent part generation and creation so that we can easily manufacture them. So to start defining them, I'm going to start adding a bunch of tangent constraints between the lines and the arcs. Now as you can see, this is a pretty fast process and it works very similarly to how you're used to in Fusion. So now this part, actually, I want to adjust it a little bit because if I had added a tangent there, it wouldn't have ended up how I wanted it to actually be there in the end. So I actually went back and modified it to where I wanted. Continue to lock down everything, adding equal constraints at the arcs. So these arcs are always going to be equal. Now we're going to do the same thing to the lines. The lines are going to be the same length. So these constraints are pretty much the same constraints that we use within Fusion already. So now without adding any dimensions, we've already pretty well defined what this part's going to look like. We're actually going to add another constraint, a vertical constraint to make those vertical. And then finally we're going to add a construction line. So this is done by creating a line and then selecting it and then clicking construction line. So what this indicates to anyone looking back at my sketch in the future, they can see that I indicated that I wanted symmetry throughout my part, even though this part is not necessarily used with a mirror function, but it's done that. So now I'm going to constrain this part to the origin. So what this does is just make sure that the part is in a definite location on the canvas, so it's not it can't move around per se. So now we're going to go in and actually start dimensioning things. So as we start dimensioning things, you're going to notice that some of these lines and arcs will actually turn purple. These dimensions are what really turn and change Inventor from Fusion. So using dimension, we're able to define the part exactly how we want it, and then go back and make changes that will be reflected in our 3D models. You can add dimensions to between pretty much anything. Just as we did in Fusion, the difference with this is the dimensions will continue to affect the model as we go post 3D extrusions. So another cool thing with the dimensions is you can actually use algebraic problems within your dimension thing. So we can do 2.5 divided by 2 if we didn't want to actually do the math for that to make it 1.25. So if you want to go back and edit this dimension, we can just double click on it and edit it as you want. So I'm actually going to change that to 1 inch. As you notice, it automatically adjusts the radius on the opposite side because those were used with the equal constraint. So now, as you can see, the entire part is purple, which means that it is fully constrained. So now I'm gonna add a couple more circles into here. Now we're gonna go ahead and dimension these circles to fully constrain them and make sure that they're the exact size that we want them to be. So one thing I do want to do though is I want to make sure that these circles are equal to each other. Instead of having to go back and edit both dimensions and adding dimensions, I can just use the equal constraint and click both circles that I want to be equal, and they will remain that way throughout. So if I want to go back and change that circle to a different size, it will adjust both circles at the same time. So now there's this last piece that's not fully constrained. We're gonna go ahead and add a horizontal constraint to make it completely locked down. And there we go, there we have our sketch. You now know how sketching works in Inventor and how it's different from Fusion. Thanks for watching. So now that you've learned a little bit about how CAD and how that all works, if you want to learn more, like I said, there is a lot more content and a lot more videos available for you to watch. We have 14 videos online, and we really encourage that you watch the entire series front to back. They're really well worth your time. We've put a lot of our friends through this, and it's been a really cool process that they've really liked come out of it, being able to actually make some really cool robots inside of CAD. And we believe that this process is really going to help your team be able to take your design process and use your time, those 6 weeks that we have, in a much more effective and meaningful manner. So also some other cool things along with Built by Design besides just the videos that we have that are really cool. You can also download all of the software. So at the top, there'll be links at the top of the page that send you right down into the Autodesk student site where you can sign up for free and get all of the Autodesk software for free for 3-year licenses, which is really, really cool. Also, we provide a CAD library for download. So what this is 3D models and parts that we've already kind of conglomerated and put them together into a library that's really well organized, so you don't have to redesign those parts. So it includes all of the kit of parts that you get, band bots, motors, standards extrusions like 80/20, the kind of things that are really standard across a lot of teams and that a lot of teams use them, will be within that library. So you don't have to go and take calipers and measure out all the parts and rebuild them within CAD. It's just a drag and drop process, really easy. We also have all of our PowerPoints available online for download. So this is our website here, just a little bit short video to kind of show off what it is about and what it all looks like. So right across the top, as you see, is our kind of scroll bar, menu bar with videos. You click a video and it brings it down. They're also all hosted on YouTube, so if you want to go check out our YouTube channel, you can do that. Below the videos, there's different things. There's tooltip libraries that explain every single kind of tool that is used inside of the videos and the icon that that tool is, which is really cool. Over here on the right, we have a list of feature designs. So within the forums, there's different categories in the forums. You can post your designs and things that you've been working on. And it's kind of like a Reddit system, so you can upvote the designs, well, the ones you like, the ones you don't. You can also post questions and designs and say, hey, this is what I've been working on, but I'm not sure how to make it do this. And then people can comment and respond to that. So it's a really awesome way to be able to share 3D ideas and designs. So then across the top, we have our download links for downloading software, as well as then the kit of parts and those kind of things. So that's our website. So please come check us out at bxd.autodesk.com. Like us on Facebook. If you have any questions about this presentation that we gave today, or about our website in general, feel free to email us at autodeskbxd@gmail.com. So just check us out. Thanks for watching.